Welcome back, guys. Today we've got a American superstar with us. Well, I obviously love 23s content in terms of just absorbing any football 23s content possible, and from around the globe where I can. But when it comes to the Americas, I'm not particularly upskilled. But this man we have here today, I know certainly is. He is well known as this weekend Zed Lasso. It is Zealand the Cannon. Shannon, how are you doing, buddy?
The Cannon. I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk. More and more people are being interested or getting interested in U.S. players, U.S. national team players, and so I am more and more excited to talk about it.
They are an exciting upcoming nation. Yeah. But before we jump into this, a quick question. This is completely off the spur here. Why has it changed so much, you think, in recent years?
Oh, because so the U.S., if you look at World Cup history for the U.S., we qualified in like 1956 or something. And then we didn't qualify again until 1990. And so there was a really significant gap where football was just not a factor in U.S. life at all. FIFA took the initial step to try and make it popular in the United States by setting up the World Cup here. And when they set up the World Cup here, then they also obviously set up the MLS, and the MLS starts to take off. But what really did it was my entire life. I'm the first generation, really. I'm just slightly older than all the star U.S. players. My entire life, the Premier League was on national television. Every weekend, yes, it was on national television. And my entire life, the video game FIFA was very popular. And before that, FIFA and the Premier League and all this stuff on TV was just starting. And I think it was a happy accident, because if you're a national TV network that shows sports, there's not a lot of sports going on at 7 a.m. on the East Coast.
No.
But there is Premier League.
Premier League football, right?
And so if you want to have live sports on, you can block off like 7 a.m. to 12, and that's just Premier League mornings, and there's live sports.
So what I'm getting here, I didn't actually know this. The Premier League really doesn't clash with anything in the US sport base.
Not at all.
That is quite a clear, obvious reason. Like I say, a happy accident. It's almost like it fitted perfect.
And so every morning, I would wake up a little early on Saturday because it was perfect. You wake up, you get out of bed. It's Saturday. It's the weekend. You got everything to look forward to. And you to me, this was my nirvana. I'd fire up Football Manager, sit on the couch in the living room, and watch the Premier League. And then I'd watch the second set of matches.
And live football is so much better than just catching up with football as well. So having the opportunity to sit down and watch it and have game after game after game as well, incredible. Today, guys, we're going to talk about under-23s players. I don't know what players Zealand's going to pull up, where from, or who. But what I'm going to do, we're going to change over the screens. I'm going to have Sorare data, and as he pulls them up, we're going to have a little look where these players are. Obviously, if they're covered by Opta, we'll have an idea of what they've been doing currently. Some might not be covered by Opta because they haven't broken into teams just yet. I actually don't know. But I'm excited for where Zealand's going to go with this and what players we're going to discuss. Okay, then, Zealand, fire away. Who is the first man on your list of players we have today that we should be keeping an eye on for Sorare?
I've been sounding the alarm on this guy since he was 16 years old, and he broke into the New York Red Bulls lineup. His name's Caden Clark. He is an attacking midfielder. It's 16 years old, and he scored two of the best goals you will see in the MLS, like, ever. Just at 16 years old. He is a banger in a bottle, essentially. And very, very quickly, within a year of him breaking into the New York Red Bulls lineup, he skipped the whole Salzburg thing, and Leipzig just bought him. And so he is just kind of complete. I think he just turned 18, and he's just completed his move to Leipzig. But he's the type of guy where a year from now, and this is the sort of thing you never know. He's in that interim period where he's already made the transition. He's proven himself to have a ton of quality. But this is like the same milieu that Pulisic found himself in, where he showed up at the Adidas tournament. The U.S. beat Brazil like 3-0 at whatever Adidas tournament that was. Pulisic gets signed by Dortmund, and then he disappears for a year and a half. And then he pops up on the Dortmund first team, and all of a sudden he's a starlet. When I watched him in New York Red Bulls, he played out of the middle. And he is just, he's one of those players, when you watch, you cannot believe that he's 16 or 17 years old, because he's so confident in his movements and the precision that he like takes the ball and the shots he takes on. You're just like, what do you do? And then it goes in. Like I would encourage you. I know
well,
you
there's
probably
a period here between on basically what I'm looking at. You can't see it. I've got it on my side. It's called Sorare data, and it has all the Opta scoring and stuff like that. And basically, is the metrics used to measure players on Sorare. Decisive is actions which are important in a game, i.e., stopping a goal going in, like a goal line clearance, a goal, an assist, anything like those things that are decisive in a game that make an action. All round is basically the touches you've taken, the completed passes, the uncompleted passes, the interceptions, stuff like that. If we're in game week 254 for Sorare, if we go back to game week 100 to 170, he played quite a lot, and he was hitting 60s and 80s and 70s out of 100, and this was going to be probably when he was like 17. Okay, it's interesting, yeah, and it's always good with the way that you know fantasy scoring works, having a player that is going to be in and around more decisive actions, i.e., assists and goals, and a player that shoots from regularly can be absolute gold mine of a player on Sorare. So Caden Clark. So that's our first one.
He has a chance to break on to the scene and be just fantastic, because if you can do that sort of stuff at that age in the MLS, which is a very physical league, then this, in my opinion, the sky's the limit. His only disadvantage is he doesn't have European citizenship. Who I have for number 2 is somebody that you probably don't know about and you wouldn't keep track of because he's very under the radar, but I happen to think he's fantastic. And not only is he fantastic, I think he represents the future of American soccer more so than a lot of other players. His name is Tanner Tessman. You ever heard of him?
That name would stand out to me, and I don't think I do recognize it. I got him here at Venezia, is it pronounced? The Italian team.
This guy is from Birmingham, Alabama. This guy's from the Sticks, and he has become a player in the top 5 leagues of Europe. But for whatever reason, he has not actually been able to break into the U.S. national team.
Yeah, a lot of coming off the bench, but coming off the bench is a good sign. I suppose, how old is he at this moment in time?
He's 20 years old. So this is his first year in Europe. He came straight out of the MLS, and he's made 18 appearances for Venezia this season. He is a big holding midfielder who has skill, and every time I watch him play, he plays with another American named Gianluca Buzio, who I feel like is too high profile to include on this list. But
I know Buzio, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Tessman and Buzio play a similar style of game, and they're both really good. And Buzio is all in the U.S. national team, and everybody seems to know who he is, but nobody really knows who this kid from Alabama is that's just playing in Serie A, which I find fascinating. And so I feel like if you're looking for somebody that could break out over a World Cup cycle, if Tanner Tessman gets into the team, he's a reliable screening player that, at least at the level that he's normally playing at, is normally press resistant. He's not the type of player that Caden Clark is, where you're talking about, in the fantasy games where you want to get these guys that are involved in all these creative actions. That's not what Tanner Tessman's doing. But in Americans that are one step away from being really big, important parts of major European teams and the U.S. national team, Tanner Tessman is right there. He seems to have everything in place already, and it's pretty crazy for a kid to go from Alabama to Dallas straight into the Venezia team and playing all the time.
What you're saying about this, there might not be a player to pick up now and use right now. This is a guy that potentially in the future could go on to do something a lot more interesting. He's playing his trade in Serie A, so it's a real step up, and fair play to him. He's got some good score. He's playing against some good teams as well, and Venezia, I think, are bottom of the league at the current, to be honest.
You may be curious. I looked it up. So Venezia is 3 points from safety right now, but they have a match in hand on safety, so it's going to be a near run thing.
I knew they were down there somewhere, because I was looking at Mikhail Kozienz, or his name is, the other day, seeing what he was up to, and noticed he'd gone to Venezia, and they were down in the battle.
This is a MLS starlet, which this means that you may have heard of Kevin Paredes before, because he just got his European move. Kevin Paredes.
Yes. But I know Wolfsburg he moved to recently, didn't he?
Yeah, they bought him for over $7 million, and this kid, like his 18th birthday, they just bought him for $7 million. 7.35.
Not yet to play, actually. He's yet to play for Wolfsburg.
It's almost like it's not even you watching him play. It's just from the time this kid was 16 years old, there have been people in my chat. There have been people replying to tweets. There have been people, dude, you heard of Kevin Paredes? Like, the hype train on Kevin Paredes is so aggressive. And he's one of those, he just seems blessed. He obviously got this big move, and he's in the same boat as Caden Clark in terms of the European transition. It's like, okay, he's just getting into this Europe spot. and we'll see if he's actually able to make an impact. But he is somebody that absolutely stormed the U.S. scouting circuit.
Yeah, he's got some very high scores. Like, for instance, take Tessman for a minute ago, who was coming off the bench and scoring 20-25s here and there, 30s. Before he's moved to Wolfsburg, this guy's scoring lowest 30s, highest 100s. He's got several 60s in there as well. Goals, penalties, won, assists. All right, so we've got one or two more. How much do you want to do?
Yeah, no, I've got another guy lined up.
Go for it then. We'll go one more.
All right. Then I wanted to give you one at least that was still in the MLS. Cade Cowell.
Now this game, I know nothing about this guy, but I have crossed this guy in searching. Let me look at his SO5 scores quickly. So this is a guy that comes off the bench regularly, which is always a good sign. But what do you know about him?
Daryl DK is the U.S. version of Romelu Lukaku. Cade Cowell is the poor man's Daryl DK. This is a very physically impressive guy. And there was a picture of him training with like his shorts rolled up. And it was one of those pictures where you just like oogle at his thighs. I know this isn't relevant to his actual performance, but this guy has been in the San Jose Earthquakes first team kind of since he was 15 years old. This is the type of guy you would want to look out for because he's going to be tremendously undervalued, but he's a forward, so he's going to be involved in a lot of goal scoring, goal creating activities. And even Transfermarkt has him valued at $5.5 million. Like, everybody knows there's going to be a moment where he goes the way of Jesus Ferreira, right? And he starts just bagging goals and starts the season on
kind of
fire.
finds that rhythm, gets that starting spot, and then there's no looking back type thing.
Exactly. And it's just interesting to see how San Jose monitors that, because I figured that he was one of those guys that was going to move to Europe right when he turned 18, but he's 18 now. He just needs that starting spot. I sent you the picture, by the way, because it's insane. That's Cade Cowell at 16.
Oh my word. That's a full-grown man.
I know. He's an insanely impressive physical specimen, and he getting into the first team that quickly and having the opportunity to train at that level, you just know he's going to come good and be a player that at least scores a ton of goals in the MLS, and probably, if he wants to, will have a good career in Europe.
All right, Z.
Yes.
Thank you for your participation in today's video. You've enlightened us with a few of those MLS guys. And no doubt we might return to this, actually, if you're available mid-season. And see, how they've got on and if anyone else has cropped up.
That'd be fair. Honorable mention to Cole Bassett and Paxton Pomykal, by the way.
I own Cole Bassett.
There you go.
Yes. Just gone to Feyenoord, right?
Yeah, he just made his move to Europe.
I own a Cole Bassett, so that's good.
Actually.
And who's the Paxton?
The other one is a guy who I actually... Yeah.
Here we go. So it's Pomykal.
Yeah. Pomykal.
Okay, so he's a little bit older, but
he is, but it's all injuries. He was somebody that was on the same trajectory as like Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie. He was in that crop, and then all of a sudden he started getting hurt, so he's still at Dallas. But yeah, Pomykal was out for all of 2020. Like in his career, even though he's a regular starter when he's healthy, he's only played like 2,000 minutes ever, and so he is just somebody that when he gets those number of minutes analytically, he should actually be able to find that form.
Which I think on the flip side as well, the younger lads that you showed who are coming off the bench, they're getting that playing time, which is so important, but they're not doing it to like a Neymar level. I saw some stat on Neymar like yesterday, where that guy's played like 652 full games, 90 minutes, and like your body's going to be burnt by then. The fact that they're getting minutes and they've still got plenty of time left in them. Then this type of this guy here, when it comes to so rare, players in their mid-30s are still super useful because they're regulars and they score regularly. It isn't all about 23s at the end of the day. It is about players that score regularly within Opta. So it could be a player that maybe comes good later down his career for you. And like, because of the way that the game works, these cards have longevity and utility for the amount of length of their career. You're talking about 12 years. So for £22 on his limited card, 169 on his rare, regularly starting but maybe not quite hitting those numbers just yet. If they said a little bit of context to why with the injury, little problem, maybe trying to find the rhythm and that. There's always a player knocking about somewhere like this. I mean, he has had a run going back last year, the July time, August, where he was constantly in the decisive scores action. So he having goals and assists popping up and Generally good forward passes, I guess, as well, which bumps his score because he's got some good all-round scores. But yeah, no, he's interesting. I say his name is absolutely brilliant as well. That's enough.
It is.
There we go. Right, cool, dude. Where can everyone find you? It's damn easy to find you for Time Football Manager because you are the king these days.
Oh, we try.
Where can we find you? Where can we find you?
Just Zealand on YouTube, Zealand on Twitch, and hopefully you'll see you there.
So there we go, guys. A little catch up with Zealand, talking about some of the MLS players on the U23 side of things. It's not an area that I'm familiar with, so to hear him talk about that and to cover those players is really, really, really helpful. Make sure you do go check him out. I'll leave some of his links down in the description. Top FM content creator and very knowledgeable when it comes to MLS, soccer, football, and everything that side of the US, who have got very exciting young players coming through. Hopefully you found this video interesting today. If you've got anyone else maybe that's from the US that you was worth a mention that you're aware of, throw it down in the comment section. But otherwise, thank you for coming through. Hit the subscribe button, drop a little like, and we'll catch you in the next one.